Hello folks, it's Lilia back here, and I'm back with you today with 21 best podcasts to improve your English. As you know already, as an English learner, as an English teacher, I'm a massive fan of listening for the speaking's sake, so to speak. So I always tell my students to listen as much as they can in order to improve their English, because I know it works. As a non-native English speaker, I've spent many hours listening to natural English, to authentic English and English from course books. So whatever you listen to, it's still great, provided that you do something. Before we get down to exploring the podcast, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel by clicking on a bell button below and give this video a massive thumbs up. And by the way, if the podcast that you really like listening to doesn't get mentioned in this video, make sure you post it into the comment section down below. All the links to the podcast I share could be found in the description box down below. Luke's English Podcast. Luke is a British English teacher who creates a podcast in a very natural British English manner. So if you're looking for an interesting bit of British English in your life, make sure you go and check him out. The Y Factor. It's a BBC podcast, very good if you really care about the world and the boring and mundane things that we like to do. For example, why do we like horses? Why do we like friendship? Why do men act like men and women act like women? Things like that. So if a little child is curious in you, make sure you go and check out the Y Factor podcast. Crowd Science, another interesting podcast. A question is being sent to the radio presenter each week or each month, and then they go about exploring the questions in a very interesting and interactive manner, so it could be used to improve your understanding of interviews and listening to British English speakers as well as other English speakers from all around the world. British Council Learn English podcast. Those are great because they vary from elementary level or even beginner level in certain part of the website, if you go and explore the website, up to intermediate or upper intermediate depending on the section. So they're very good. All podcasts have a transcript, 6-minute English, 6-minute grammar, 6-minute vocabulary. Those are fantastic BBC podcasts, all beautifully transcripted with a list of useful vocabulary at the end of each podcast. If you're an advanced learner, Answer Me This is a great comedic podcast that you can listen to. So basically what happens in the podcast is Helen and Ollie and this sound man who's named Martin answer listening questions they take in every month, and they do that in a really humorous and light-hearted manner. Actualize.org. If you're into spirituality and you love working on your self-improvement in a knowledgeable way, this is where you should go. Actualize.org would have to be one of my top favourite YouTube channels in this period of my life, and although I'm saying it is a YouTube channel, there is a set of audios taken from those videos that you can download if you go and register on Leo's website. So they're fairly cool. If you're into self-improvement, you like working on yourself, you like improving on your life skills and the way how you do things and how you manage life, this is a great combination of listening to lovely American English, very high quality and vocabulary rich American English. LBC radio station. It's a fantastic radio station if you're into speech radio stations. So that's where you can go. We're not only BBC preoccupied. Women's Hour podcast. I think Women's Hour is great because it offers the world a female perspective on things, and I'm fairly into it because I really like listening to girls and ladies speaking English about something that really concerns me a lot as a young girl, especially as a girl on the internet. Whole topics are really up to date, and the English that is spoken there is really humorous and tongue-in-cheek and fantastic, so just go and check it out. Scotland Outdoors. If you're a little bit of a trail lover or a nature lover or a nature person, you might really enjoy listening to Scotland Outdoors. And I would be struggling with my little favourite plant for ages if not for Ken Crowther's Gardening Hour podcast on BBC, coming out every Saturday in the morning, so you can go and check it out too if you're a novice gardener, or if you have a gardening question, or if you just enjoy getting your hands dirty. And carrying on with the theme of nature podcasts, another nature related podcast that I listen to quite a lot is called Out for the Weekend. It's really great. Basically the idea is the same. the presenter just knocks about the mountains and hills and the nature of Scotland, you know, rural Scotland, urban Scotland. It's really interesting if you're into Scotland and Scottish English. This is something you really need to go and check out. All in the mind. If you're a little bit psychology obsessed, just like myself, and if you really want to master psychology and master your own psychology specifically and improve your own life, All in the Mind BBC podcast is where you need to go. So in the podcast, the presenter explores some really important psychological issues that bothers us a lot in this technology-driven world. So make sure you go there and check it out if you're into the inner workings of human mind. And if you're a bit more like scientifically oriented, Discovery is one of those podcasts that might really appeal to you. What I really like about all of those podcasts is that they're really contemporary. The vocabulary that's being used there is really contemporary, supernatural, very common. So nothing you will hear there will throw you to the 19th century English. The Archers. If you haven't heard of The Archers, you really should go and discover what it is. It's probably one of the most, let's say, ancient British country, let's say radio drama. So I haven't got the first episode of The Archers as much as I have tried. So if you happen to have one of those Archers first ever episodes in your archives, make sure you share it with me if you would be happy to do so, because I'm really chasing this first episode and I haven't been able to find it yet. Adam Buxton. So Adam is an independent podcaster and his podcast is really comedic because Adam is a comedian, surprise. What I really like about Adam's podcast is that he interviews other comedians and some various guests on his podcast. So if you're into listening to interviews and if you'd really like to get inspired for your collaborative task in your exam, Adam Buxton's podcast is just fantastic. It's super light-hearted and I would totally recommend it to anyone who loves comedy and who would really like to find out more about British humour, or just generally have a great listen if you're an advanced learner and if you would really like to take your English to a higher level, really. Oh, and if we're talking about Adam Buxton, Adam and Joe is another podcast done by Adam and Joe. And in order to discover who Adam and Joe are, you just need to go and visit their podcast page. What I really like about Adam and Joe's conversations is that they very often, Adam and Joe wind up each other, and that just basically ends up sounding like a complete banter that friends would normally have very naturally, very commonly. So there we go. I do hope you enjoyed them as well. Business Daily. If you're a business person or you're planning to set up your own business, you're planning to make your own company, what you need to do is be on track with the business English that is being used nowadays. Lilia's Sunday podcast. On a finishing note, this is a little podcast that I ran, I think, 2 or 3 years ago for learners of English, and every episode is full of fantastic English related advice on what you can do to improve your English in a fun and engaging manner. Please don't forget that you can access all podcasts by expanding the description box down below. Plus, sometime in the future, I'm planning to create a similar video called YouTube channels, like some best YouTube channels to help you improve on your English. So if you happen to know any great channels that have helped you a lot with your learning journey, make sure you post them in the comment section down below, or drop me a message on Facebook or an email telling me which YouTube channels have been particularly useful to you with your English. So as you can probably see, most podcasts on my list are supposed to resonate with people whose level of English is advanced and beyond. And the reason for that is that very often when I get students who are preparing for exams, or when they're just a little bit unsure where they need to go next in terms of their English, they don't really know what to listen to. It's just making yourself a great company by listening to those podcasts and making friends with those fantastic presenters might be a great way to bring that spark into your English learning routine. Enjoyed the way, if you're like me and if you're running a YouTube channel that is dedicated to learning English and educating other people on learning English successfully, make sure you share your channel with me as well. So if you have anything English related to talk about, make sure you drop me a message, subscribe to my channel, give this video a massive like, share it with a friend who is looking for interesting resources to master their English, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!